I do think that the education is a serious problem. And I do think that education on history should be absolutely mandatory. Because if anybody actually learns the history, they instantly know, oh, okay, yeah, so one side is bullshit and the other one isn't. It is actually just that easy once you learn it. And I honestly do think that and I've said this before, is that I think the Quran should be read aloud in Parliament in full. And I think that it should be the version that Tommy Robinson wrote with this other guy, where they basically have line from Quran that sounds super nice, and then the other one that abrogates it. The one that, says, oh, everyone should be nice to everyone. And the other one is, we should kill everybody. Okay, yeah, that abrogates this one. That is what should be read aloud. And it should be read aloud in Parliament. So it's on the Hansard. It is on the record. And no one can argue with it. There can be no, oh, well, it means that. No, it means this. And if you want to argue about what it means, then that argument is on the record, it's on TV, it's in print. So everyone can see it. And it's not up for debate or question. And then that basically puts people who are arguing that, oh, everything's fine, it's not our problem or whatever, it puts them on the back foot. It puts them on the defensive, where they actually have to defend themselves. And the fact of the matter is, we all know they can't. They know that it's really rubbish and they really can't defend it. The sunlight is the best disinfectant. Everybody sees it, hears it, then they know, and they can't argue about it anymore.
Isn't alcohol better disinfectant?
Mossad, I'll write your name down. Okay.
Is my name on the list?
Yes, it is.
Is my name also in the list?
Yes, it is. I'll just read it out for you.
Neil Bunny has made us all skeptical whether our name is on the list or not.
I have here Hila, Tom, Armin, Samantha, Khalid, Mossad.
Why was I moved down? I was at first. I was
sorry. So you go first. No, because you lost your train of thought, and then you said, "Okay, skip me." So I thought, but you can take it.
No, I didn't. I just said alcohol is a.
Okay, Mossad. So let's hear you.
That was your point. Move on.
That was my only point. But people keep saying that, and I always get on. Sunlight isn't the best disinfectant. Who told you that? Don't use sunlight if you have a cut or something.
It's a figure of speech. It's not.
Yes,
don't take it literally.
I know,
your time is
figure
ticking.
of speech. Anyway, yes. So, if I take the argument that suppressing something doesn't have an effect of actually making it smaller, in reality, empirically, it does. And you can ask any company that advertises. If you lower the price of advertising, they can sell more product. If you make advertising more expensive and more difficult, they sell less. So suppressing something does affect how much it's consumed and how much people know about it and how much they think about it. And that's why they suppress and even eliminate advertising of certain products. We already know this game theory has been run. All the arguments are kind of pointless because we know that suppressing things normally, but not always, you are correct, Armin, not always, normally stops things or suppresses them, basically. Sometimes people do it anyway. So maybe possibly with Vanna, where people ignore the law and smoked it until they kind of forced the law to change. Sometimes it doesn't work, but many times it does work. That's it. Thank you.
So I have a question about, do you think, for me, once you said 3 times globalized the Intifada, it's been globalized. So for me, I can't argue with this. If maybe there was more Intifada or less Intifada, if they didn't shout it on the street, we can see which countries and which places it felt more comfortable saying and doing it because it's normalized. But I do think there is a connection between these things, and once you said it out loud too many times, it's going to happen. And I wanted to say about, we can take an example for maybe what it's like against myself, but like prostitution, okay? It's not good, okay? We don't want women to sell their bodies, and we don't want men to pimp them. We don't want other people to traffic them. Some countries try to make it legal, but then in these countries, under the surface, there was harder activities going on. So even when they tried to put it in the sun, still under the sun there was stuff happening, and it was even more terrible than before. So it kind of backfired. I don't think it's black or white, and I think different societies have different code of something are universal. Yeah, so it's always like this extreme this one or extreme that one. I don't think it's suitable, and it's dangerous as well. But we can use prostitution as an example for all of this activity. Different countries had different outcome to this, but it's also something that gets better, and then it gets really worse, and then you find out there's tons of new problems you created that you didn't see coming from the side. It's hard.
What if I believe in legalized sex work?
That's
guys, we could focus on that one.
okay. So we have Jewish Tom.
Tom?
So I think Albi was talking about Germany, and I don't really think that Germany it should be a role model for us when we are saying that people are getting arrested for tweeting. I mean that's just insane. And Neil Bunny, you said that Quran should be mandatory to be read in parliament. That's not really secular, right? Maybe parliament members want to read Quran out loud on their own. That's fine, but it shouldn't be enforced by government to make
You
mandatory.
misunderstood what she's saying. She
I'm
wasn't
talking
saying
about an MP just reading it, or maybe a group of MPs
educational.
just you know.
Okay.
That's
Let
for
everyone hear
celebrating it, for
it.
educational. Yeah.
So basically, everything that happens in Parliament is reported in the Hansard. So then it's on the record of what is actually in that book. And then nobody can say, oh, it doesn't say that. No, it does. It's right there.
You're done. All right. So we have Armin.
Yeah, okay. That's why I wanted to go back to the list. Okay, first of all, when Musad was saying that, yes, Musad, I agree, reducing advertising works. I'm in favor of reducing advertising. However, what I'm trying to communicate here is suppressing speech is advertising the speech that you're suppressing. So you're actually advertising it. So if you want to reduce advertising, that doesn't work. So that's one point. And I here's the examples I have regarding government overreach. If you come up with laws that is trying to limit speech, right? So I have some from United States. There was a law in 1917. They banned spying, used to jail presidential. So they had a law to ban spying. They used it to jail presidential candidates for anti-draft speech. And then in modern times, in the United States, they had laws to created to fight foreign election bots, and then expanded it to monitor domestic citizens talking about COVID-19 and elections, right? So in Italy, there was a law, Article 278, that banned insulting the president's honor. They used that law eventually to raid homes of citizens for negative tweets. I'm saying this because as he was saying, oh, they're not fascists. I'm not talking about full-on fascism. I'm not like Hila is saying, I'm not talking about absolutes. These are government overreach without going full fascist, right? And then also in Italy, we had the criminal defamation. This was law protecting reputation, but it was used by politicians to silence investigative journalists. In Germany in 1933, we had suspended civil rights to stop communist violence. It was used to arrest all political opposition and create a dictatorship. In South Africa in 1950, Suppression of Communism Act, they banned communism, defined so vaguely it was used to strip rights from anti-apartheid activists. In Venezuela in 2017, we had ban. Okay, Venezuela is already a fascist state, so it doesn't matter. Turkey in we had Article 29 and 299 in modern times. It banned insulting the president. It was used to prosecute thousands of cartoonists, teenagers, and journalists. In Hungary, we had COVID emergency laws in 2020, banned misinformation about the virus, but then it was used to arrest critics of the government's political performance. So we have
Are you
like
saying?
this keeps going on and on and on. So the point is that the intention of limiting free speech, they all seem to be, well, not all of them, but many of them seem to be good. And we're like, yeah, we don't want that. But we have so much examples of governments and using them to basically go after people they don't like or increase their power or remove other people's civil liberties and actually going after the very people who at first were in favor of those laws. So this is why this is very dangerous. Once you lose your freedom of speech, you could lose all your other rights. This is why you have to be very sensitive about this.
All right. May I
Yes, of course.
rebuttal this? Okay. You gave lots of information with examples, and it doesn't matter how much you give, because at the end of the day, nasty people in nasty government will abuse power and abuse laws. And also in the civil, not just governments, also civil people will abuse laws. Right now, you have women that divorce men, they want half. It became a business. People abuse laws. What are you going to do about it? Some you change, some you keep.
But that's it. Okay, so here's the thing. Yes, people will abuse laws. Government is the most powerful entity in a society
It's not
because
a
the
direct
state,
correlation.
given how much people will use the opportunity to use the laws or abuse the laws to increase their power, the number one power that we need to be concerned about overreaching is the state.
So you
We
need
as
a
a
monitoring
society,
mechanism over the state.
the main monitoring is get the fuck out of my personal life. You're here. The main monitoring mechanism is laws that limits the government. That's I'm like, you're actually making my point. I completely agree with you. So
No, you spin my
monitoring is,
point, but
yeah. So the best way to monitor the government is to limit the government using laws and keeping the government
that's a
out of
premise
our
that you
individual
say.
lives. Right.
That's a
Yeah.
premise.
So
You need to argue for it.
let me actually simplify this, okay? Given that people with power will be abusing their power, okay? The main threat to the freedom to our liberties in a society comes from the government abusing its power, right? And because as what is a state? A state is the entity that a society has decided to give the monopoly of violence to. We've decided that we want to take away violence from everybody and give that right only to the state. We already, given that we have given the right to violence to the state has already too much power. So giving it also the ability to come and tell us what we get to say is then too much. We're centralizing too much power in one entity. We Any entity that we have allowed to use the power of violence to monitor society should be limited in almost everything else, including deciding what we get to say. Given that
Okay.
people abuse power, as you just said.
Okay. Let's move on.
Like, you guys need to see Middle East Studies departments in the US. Okay, it's scary. It's very scary. Like